When you look at Saudi Arabia now, in the Kaaba, there's a big symbol there where there's a moon and a star. So in that Saudi Arabia, they must have some sort of association to the moon god. You have to go around it 7 times and repeat the same words. You go around Safa and Marwa, up and down. That's a cult practice. That's what the Hare Krishnas do. You can know what's influenced by God and by devil, because you can see them by the fruits. And when you look at Islam and its practices, you know it's by the devil. The way how the Mecca came is before the Meccan tradition, they used to people worship Hubal. Hubal was a moon god.
Either what?
He was a moon god where people in Saudi Arabia were worshipping him. Then Muhammad came and adopted that tradition and made the Kaaba his own religion. That's how it started. How can
this is the Jahiliyyah time?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know. This, my statement, I know, that's what I'm saying to you. So,
How do you link that to the
I'll tell you why. Because Muhammad adopted the pagan tradition. The way how the pagans were worshipping before, how they were worshipping the Hubal god. Muhammad copied their religion and made it into his own.
Show me how.
It's logic. Use the common sense. Use the common sense.
Give your common sense in your home, not here.
Use the common sense.
I'm trying to be respectful. When you make a claim that say
Let him lie.
He took this thing. You have to come with proof that says he took this thing.
So how? Okay. Can I tell you why I made that statement? Because I asked him, give me evidence of pre-Meccan history. Because he can't give me evidence about Abraham building the Kaaba. Give me evidence, then I'll tell you.
Now, hold on a second. When you come and make a claim and say Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam adopted these things, Zian, you have to come prove it. Okay, you cannot just say it simply. It is logic. Furthermore, the hadith that you're referencing, it talks about a man who says in the time of Jahiliyyah, we used to worship.
I said that. I agree with that.
If he was to, in the time of Jahiliyyah, is ignorance. If they were to proceed to worship that, why did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam
destroy all the
statues?
He destroyed all
drawing the matter and saying, okay,
I'll give you my evidence. I'll give you my evidence. Okay. So I let you speak. Okay.
When you come and try to draw a conclusion from another point and say, okay, but what's the proof of Ibrahim alayhi salam building the Kaaba?
Have you got any proof?
Wait a second, brother. You gotta let me speak. Even if we were to say there is no proof, okay, how does that prove that he got it from the Jahiliyyah?
That's what I was trying to say. Okay, this is what I was trying to say to you.
Okay.
First of all, have you got any proof that Abraham built the Mecca?
Yes.
Apart from the Quran?
Yes.
Where?
Here's how the
Where's
proof
where's
goes.
evidence of the Abraham and Ismail building the Kaaba?
You're interrupting me. There's a matter in debate we call ilzam and iltizam. So I've got my sources that I rely on, okay?
Pre-Meccan tradition, pre-Meccan times.
Let me speak. My sources that I rely on, okay? Now we're not going to poetry of pre-Meccan poetry. They all discuss a house being built there, okay?
Okay.
And it dates back to Al-Antar bin Shaddad, someone way before.
But no. Okay. But was it Abraham and Ismail building it? And were they using it? Was they using it how Muhammad used it? How they were going around it 7 times, kissing her black stone? Can you give me sources? If you can't give me sources, then you can just go. Give me sources.
My point is, even if we don't have, which we do, I'm saying even if we don't have proof.
Can you please bring me that source?
Brother, are you gonna let me speak?
I let you speak, brother, because you'll let me speak
either. I say one
either.
word and you interrupt me.
But will you let me speak? Because I'll let you speak, but I'm asking you.
Of course,
Okay.
but let me make my point so you can understand it. Even if we were to say that there is no proof of Abraham building the Kaaba, the absence of proof is not the same as rejecting something. Because even if we were to say, okay, there is no proof today that Abraham built it, you cannot come and say, okay, well, Muhammad took it from the pagans. Where's the connection on that?
Okay, can I say my connection on that? Okay. If you look at the this is why I say logically, right? I'm not saying because obviously I'm not trying to argue from silence. But I'm saying logically, if you look at the pagan gods, like the Hubal gods from the god of Mesopotamia, and Hubal was, I believe, originated around Arabia, and he was known as the moon god. When you look at Saudi Arabia now, in the Kaaba, there's a big symbol there where there's a moon and a star. So in the Saudi Arabia, they must have some sort of association to the moon god, and they must have worshipped it. And even in the hadith, even in the worships, it says like they used to worship stones. We know Muhammad destroyed many idols, around 360 idols. So I believe this black stone, Muhammad did not know that Abraham built it. He must have heard it from somebody, heard a false lie or something like that. He has no solid proof outside of the Quran that Abraham built this Kaaba. That Abraham built this Kaaba and they were going around it 7 times kissing the black stone, right? So that's why I say to you that I believe Muhammad originated that black Kaaba thing from the pagan tradition. And also, if you go to Mecca right now, if you go to Saudi Arabia right now, the whole paradigm is an occult. You have to go around it 7 times and repeat the same words. And after that, what you do? After that, what do? You go around Safa and Marwa. Safa and Marwa, up and down. That's a cult practice. That's what the Hare Krishnas do. The Hare Krishnas go up and down chanting Hare Krishnas. It's a cult practice.
You're assuming that the association or the sharing of symbolism indicates a correlation or connection.
It's not, it really does.
I could find 10 other religions that share the symbolism of runes or crescents or whatever and draw conclusions between them. Secondly, you're building your argument upon the initiation, the foundation that Muhammad was not a prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the issue is you cannot discuss so we have something called the asl, which is the origin, and then the matters that come from the origin, which is the path. You're discussing the path without first discussing the origin.
That's what I wanted to discuss with you, but you couldn't find it. I asked you about Abraham and Ishmael building the Kaaba. Give me external sources.
You're not talking about the origin.
I want to know how I built up. Like, that's what I'm trying to say.
Origin.
It's a worship. Yes, it's worship.
Okay? The practices are not the origin. The origin is the asl of it, okay? Which is discussing whether Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prophet. You must first discuss whether he's a prophet. Then
do you want to discuss if he's a prophet then? We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that.
Afterwards, after you discuss if he's a prophet or not,
okay,
then you can come later on and discuss.
Okay,
he's not a prophet.
So you want to discuss now that he's a prophet? We'll discuss. Do you want to go to that point?
No, I'm here for a short second only. But my point is, when you discuss with other Muslims, it will suit you more to discuss whether he's a prophet or not. Because if you manage to prove to them that he's not a prophet, then everything else they say is useless.
But this kind of falsifies his method of being a prophet because it shows that he's because I don't believe it's logic for a God. God is spirit. Why is God going to tell you to repeat the same words 7 times? Then after you do this practice, right, before doing this practice, you have to wash yourself. You wear your ihram. After this practice, you have to go do Safa Marwa. Go up and down. This is a cult practice the Hare Krishnas use. I don't believe, because I believe God is spirit, God is love. I don't believe we have to wash ourselves to go to Mecca. I don't believe we have to go to Mecca to wash our sins away. We can just go to God and ask for forgiveness through the blood of Christ. So this is why I believe that this falsifies Muhammad's claims of a prophet.
You're discussing a practice rather than discussing the origin. My point is...
But this shows that he's a false prophet, in a way.
It doesn't show anything. My point is, if I was to prove to you right now that this origin is correct, then everything that comes from this origin...
But you can't though. I told you, you couldn't show me Abraham built it.
You're missing the point. The discussion of Abraham built it or not is not the origin. We're talking about prophethood. You're talking about practice.
Okay, so let's talk about the prophet of Muhammad then. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, if you want to talk about that, we can go to that.
That's the old topic. I'm not here to discuss that right now. My point in summary is, if you were to discuss with a Muslim, this is what I'm trying to advise you to. I'm not here to discuss it with you, but I'm advising you as a brother in humanity, okay? If you were to discuss things with a Muslim, it would be more suitable to discuss prophethood in origin. So tell the Muslim, whenever you discuss with them, prove to me that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prophet.
Yeah.
Don't discuss with them, okay, prove to me that the rituals of Hajj is correct or not. Or prove to me that the prayer towards the Qibla is correct or not. Or prove to me that...
Can I tell you why he does?
Just 1 second.
Okay.
Or prove to me that the supplication is correct or not. Why? Because if you prove to the Muslim that the prophethood is false, then you prove the Hajj and everything that comes along with it is false. And if the Muslim proves to you that prophethood is correct, then everything that comes along with it is correct. The point is, I'm trying to say, and I hope you really get this, okay? Discuss the origin. Don't discuss the principles or the practice.
But who said that we haven't discussed the origins?
I don't know if you have or not, but I'm
because
saying...
we discussed the origin and this practice itself kind of... Because I believe like Muhammad was like influenced by the devil. And this practice itself...
You're free to believe that,
yeah, this practice itself, I believe it was originated by the devil. I believe it's the devil wants worship, he wants glory. And like to worship at a certain direction 5 times a day, to have to face the Qibla 5 times a day to worship God. I don't believe that's a God. I believe God is omnipresent. We can have access to him anywhere at any time. You don't have to, logically, you don't have to pray at a certain direction to God. So like I believe this is only the devil wanting his own glory and own worship and wanting people to worship idols. Because the whole black box, when you go around 7 times chanting the same words, 5 times a day, 7 times a week, you have made an idol. You don't realize that.
Belief and opinion is not enough to reject what you're stating. You're just saying, I think because this kind of similar to the Christians that do so forth, it sounds to me like he was influenced by demons. Logically, I'm saying from an academic and
This is logically.
From an educational point of view, from academic,
from spiritual, you can't say
this
academic.
argument has no value.
No, from a spiritual point of view, because you can't. Academics have.
Spiritual. You're talking about subjective matter here.
No, from a spiritual, from a religious side.
I come tomorrow and say, okay,
from a religious point of view,
sense to me.
from a religious point of view, out of religions, right?
And
You
what
can
is the religious point of view here?
from all sorts
your own
of from
opinion.
all sorts of religions, right? From the devil and from God. You can know what's influenced by
All
God
sorts of
and by
religions.
devil. Because you can see them by the fruits. And when you look at Islam and its practices, you know it's by the devil.
But you said from all sorts of religions, this looks kind of wrong. Okay, but what tells you that all these religions are correct? Again, you keep going into the principles of the practices rather than discussing the origin.
But why do you want to go to because the practices itself kind of logically proves that Islam is false. Because you have many things like, for example,
because your argument is incorrect.
For example, praying 5 times a day. You have to pray in Arabic. You have to say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You have to say the Surah Fatiha 5 times a day. Like God is spirit. Like we can logically we should talk to God how we want to do. We should pray to God what's upon our heart. You don't have to pray to God with repetition prayers. That's a bad mindset.
You're not comprehending what I'm saying. You keep going and assuming that.
Are you saying God's a human then? Like God's a.
Of course not. I'm saying you're assuming that God's a spirit, and upon this assumption, you built your whole argument. Okay? What if someone says that God is not a spirit? God is the creator of spirits.
If God's a human, if they're saying God's a spirit or a demigod, then he's not real God, then is he?
I'm saying God is not a spirit. He's not a human.
God is a spirit. God's eternal, right?
God is eternal, but he's not a spirit.
What do you believe God is then?
God is not a spirit.
What is he? What is he? What is God?
You cannot comprehend his essence.
But what is he? What's his essence?
Let me tell you, you cannot comprehend his essence. Because if you can comprehend his essence and understand him, what does that mean? That means God is limited. Why? Because you've surrounded him in knowledge.
But doesn't Allah himself said like he kind of doesn't Allah himself said that he neither begets, he neither has a son.
Yes.
Because you say you don't know about his essence. I'm talking about his attributes. If Allah's all omnipresent, right? Why can't you guys like talk to God in the bathroom? Why do you guys have to be at a certain direction, certain place to talk to Allah?
It's not about that you can't, it's about respect here. But the matter is again, you're jumping all the way into practices.
If that's what the conversation was about. It was about practices. That's what it was about.
Let me tell you something. That's the thing, you've interrupted me a million times.
But was the conversation not about practices? How is that a straw man? How's that a straw man? Answer me how's that a straw man?
Let me speak.
Because the original question.
If you interrupt me one more time, I'm gonna leave, okay?
The original.
You messed it up, my brother.
The literal whole conversation was about the practices of Islam. That's what it was about.
And I've come to you and I've explained to you.
And you want to jump from that. You're jumping away from that.
I'm here discussing to you the essence of God, and you're telling me, can we pray to God in the toilet? I'm discussing to you the essence. What is God?
You say you didn't know what God's essence is.
Baba,
you say you didn't know what God's essence is.
You've interrupted me too many times.
But you say you didn't know what God's essence
I'm not
is.
saying that we don't know. I'm saying it is impossible for us to know.
So you know his attributes. You know his attributes, sir. Okay, go on. You speak. Go. Go speak. Speak.
I'm gonna say this one sentence.
Go on.
And I'm gonna leave. Okay? Don't ask me the question. I'm just gonna say this one sentence.
If you're gonna leave, you might as well leave now.
It's not for you. It's for the viewers so they can judge for themselves. Okay? We believe for God, He must be complete, and for a complete God, He must not have limitations. And in order for a God to be worthy of worship, not to have limitations, He cannot be limited by the human mind comprehension. If the human mind has comprehended God's essence, that means we've surrounded Him in knowledge. We've understood what God is, and we've understood what God is. That means we've limited Him in our brains, and a God that is limited in our brain is a God that we do not worship.
Okay.
And that is.
But
Thank you very
you
much.
know you said about the attributes of God, right? Well, just one more question. You know you said about just like that. I agree that you say you don't want to talk about the essence of God, but we know you mentioned about the attributes of God, how Allah is all-knowing and all omnipresent. If Allah is really omnipresent, right, He's everywhere, why can't He accept praise in a bathroom, and why can't He hear praise in a bathroom? That's what I was wanting to say to you.
He can't hear.
Well, He doesn't accept praise, does He?
No, but you're saying one thing here. You're saying He can't hear the prayers, and then you're saying, well, you shouldn't pray. So which one is it?
Well, it's a bit both, though, isn't it? Like he doesn't listen to the prayers in the bathroom. So what does that tell you? If he doesn't listen to the prayers in the bathroom, what does that tell you?
No, it doesn't say that. That's the thing. You've made an assumption, and then you built your argument upon this assumption. Okay? You're saying that God can't hear in the bathroom, which is not correct. No one said that. God is all hearing, but He doesn't hear with the ear. Okay? When we say He's all hearing, as He's all knowledgeable of all things that can be heard. Okay? As for praying in the bathroom, that is out of respect. Okay?
But does Allah listen to them prayers or not?
There's a matter of necessity.
Does He listen to them prayers or
I'll
not?
give you an example. So we
Wait,
have
wait,
I'll give you
wait.
an
Does
example.
Allah listen to them prayers or not?
Let me answer you, my brother. Yani, you interrupt me a million times. There's two of you.
Because you be jump.
brother,
Okay, go on.
I know that this is the method of Speaker's Corner.
Go on.
But you can do that with the rest of them. If not, tell me and I'll leave. Okay? There's an example here. Let's say I'm in a situation where there's a threat of danger. Okay? And I'm stuck in a toilet. I can't go elsewhere. Okay? And I make a prayer to God. And in that moment, it's called iltirar. Okay? It's out of necessity. There's a threat outside. I'm hiding in a toilet. I make a prayer to God in the toilet. I make a prayer to God in my heart. I don't pronounce it. Either way, God listens to the
Wait,
prayer.
can you normally pray out loud in the bathroom? Like normally out loud. Can you do that?
Out of respect, we avoid it.
You can't. No, but is it gunnah to do so?
Is it what?
Is it gunnah to do so? Is it a bad thing? Is it like a sin to do so?
Not necessarily a sin. It's out of respect.
But is it going against Allah?
It's out of respect.
You
my
can't
dear
do it.
brother.
No, because it's against Islam to do so.
Just giving you an example where you can do so.
But you can't. No, but generally you can't do so. If you want
I'm
to talk
giving you an
to,
example of you doing so.
but if you generally want to have a
respect.
conversation,
It's out of respect.
if you generally, we were going on.
That's like me
If
saying,
you want to have a
okay,
conversation,
I'm praying to Jesus.
I was listening. I was talking to you.
Brother,
If you
brother.
generally want to have a conversation with God, because God is meant to be someone who we have a relationship with, someone who's meant to be all loving, like a mother and father to, like a father to us. If you generally want to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in toilet, if you generally just want to talk to Him, can you do that? Can you do that? Is it allowed? Is it permissible? No, it's not about. It's not about our respect. Is it permissible? That's a false equation. That's a false
Can I sit in a
equivocation.
church and preach all naked?
That's a false
My
equivocation. You're running
It's a
away.
matter of respect. You go into twist it and say He doesn't accept prayers or He can't hear prayers is wrong. I've given you an example where He accepts prayers out of
necessity, but no, it doesn't.
Okay?
You can't generally pray to Allah in the
Of
toilet,
course,
can you?
If you approach God in a disrespectful way,
Right.
okay, God hasn't told you to do so. Why would God accept that? Okay, but in the matter of can God hear it or not, it's a whole different matter. And
So
I've concluded what I need to say, my brother.
Yeah. So
Inshallah,
you say
might find someone else
generally
willing to
Allah couldn't.
entertain this.
But generally
I'm not
Allah
going to
can't
entertain
answer prayers in the toilet.
it. You cannot say.
You can't talk to Him in the toilet.
You cannot say.
And you have to pray in certain directions. Like what kind of God? Like because the conversation is about the practices of Islam.
You're bombarding me with questions, rhetorical questions. You're not allowing me to.
Because you haven't answered a
And
single. You
interrupt
haven't
me
answered.
again.
You haven't really answered them properly, though, have you?
Brother, the thing is, you'll think you're fooling me, but the problem is when the viewer watches this,
So what direction? What directions do you have to pray?
200 times.
What directions do you have to pray to?
Brother, look how many times you're jumping topics.
What direction do you have to pray to in Islam?
You've asked me a million questions, and you jump topic after topic.
No, because I'm going on the same topic. The topic was about the practices of Islam,
Brother, you've
and I'm
jumped a
sticking with
million
that.
topics. I
I'm
can't
sticking with that.
entertain
I'm
this.
sticking
I
with
genuinely can't
that.
entertain
I'm
this.
sticking with that topic. You don't want to go on because you don't want to accept the pagan traditions you have. Like you have to pray towards a Qibla 5 times a day. Like what kind of God is that saying that you have to pray in this direction to me 5 times a day, 7 days a week? Fajr, Zohr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. What kind of God says that? God is meant to be someone we can have access to anywhere, anytime. He's meant to be omnipresent. And you can't talk to God in the toilet. You have to pray to Him 7 times a day. You have to go around the Kaaba seven times. It's one of your five pillars. Like that's not really Islam. That's a pagan tradition.
The viewers, when they see this,
That was
they
like
know
okay,
it's- they know it's
obviously.
your tone and everything.
People understand it's pagan tradition.
So what happened there, Ish? Hopefully it was an edifying conversation by from what I heard.
Was the pagan tradition of Islam, the pagan practices of Islam. He didn't want to address anything properly. Like the Islam, it pretty much originated from the pagan traditions. Because if you look at before Meccan, before like the the Kaaba was originated, what the people were doing before that, they were worshipping stones. And we also see the people there, they were worshipping a moon god called Hubal. The people in Arabia were worshipping a moon god called Hubal. If you go to Saudi Arabia now, where the Kaaba is, you'll see a symbol, and that symbol is the moon and star. And then Muhammad, if you use your logic, originated that pagan tradition to suit his own religion. And also, if you look at the Islamic practices, I was trying to show you to him how this is really influenced by the devil. The Islamic practices, like, you know, praying in a certain direction. You can't talk to God in the toilet. You have to go around a black book 7 times. You have to kiss a black stone for the forgiveness of sins. This is all pagan worship. Use your logic. This is all pagan worship, which they don't want to address. He wanted to go on to about the essence of Allah, and he said that we can't understand Allah's essence. Then I asked about Allah's attributes. If Allah really is all omnipresent, why can't you talk to God in the toilet? Why doesn't Allah listen to praise in the toilet? God is meant to be everywhere. He's meant to be omnipresent. So why can't God listen to prayers in the toilet? God is meant to be a father to us. He's meant to be relational to us. He's meant to be someone loving to us. So why can't you talk to God in the toilet? What's bad about that? Thank you very much. No, no.
It's not good if you're having a heart attack on the toilet. You can't do the